Have you ever experienced a moment so coincidental that it left you stunned, or a synchronicity so profound that it seemed the universe itself was speaking directly to you? Many individuals often find themselves doubting whether a moment was just a one-off coincidence or a synchronicity that has a deeper meaning. Luckily, there actually are ways to tell the difference, but in order to be able to do so, we first need to take a look at the origins and definitions. Part 1. Origins and Definitions. By diving into their origins and definitions, we aim to set the groundwork for a deeper understanding of these phenomena. Let's begin with the simpler of the two, coincidence. A coincidence occurs when two or more events happen at the same time, seemingly by mere chance and without any apparent causal connection. For instance, imagine you are humming an old song you haven't thought about in years, and just as you turn on the radio, that exact song is playing. It feels surprising, a curious quirk of timing, but it's typically dismissed as just that, a random happenstance. Historically, the concept of coincidence does not carry any intrinsic meaning. Philosophers such as David Hume and John Stuart Mill approached coincidences as the natural outcomes of probability. Their views suggest that in a world bustling with continuous activity, the occasional overlap of events is statistically inevitable and ordinary. Contrasting sharply with coincidence, synchronicity is a term coined by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. Synchronicity describes the simultaneous occurrence of events that appear significantly related but do not have a discernible causal connection. However, unlike coincidence, these events are meaningful to the observer. To understand synchronicity, one must delve into the psychological and spiritual layers of human experience. Jung introduced this concept to describe circumstances that are so timely and so perfect in their alignment that they hint at a larger underlying framework of reality. He argued that these events go beyond the laws of probability and instead suggest an underlying pattern or dynamic that lies in the intersection of our inner and outer worlds. Various cultures and philosophical systems throughout history have concepts akin to synchronicity. In Chinese philosophy, the idea of yi, the notion of meaningful coincidence, is seen in the I Ching, or Book of Changes. The I Ching itself is an ancient divination tool used to understand the present moment through the alignment of seemingly random events with hexagrams derived from tossing coins or yarrow sticks. In Western philosophy, the Stoics believed in a form of synchronicity through their concept of sympathia, the idea that all things are mutually interwoven and that the actions of one resonate with the whole. Similarly, in modern times, quantum physics begins to touch on these themes with discussions about non-locality and entanglement, where distant objects affect one another's state in a way that defies straightforward causal explanation. Literary works often reflect the fascination with these concepts. Authors like Paulo Coelho in The Alchemist and Hermann Hesse in Siddhartha weave the threads of destiny, meaning, and coincidence through their narratives. These stories resonate deeply because they mirror our own experiences with inexplicable yet profoundly impactful events. To illustrate, consider a scenario where you've been pondering a significant life decision, such as a career change. One evening, a book falls from a shelf only to open on a chapter discussing someone's transformative career journey, echoing your own thoughts and struggles. This incident might strike you as a synchronistic event, offering guidance or affirmation from the universe regarding your contemplated change. But how do we know that this wasn't just a coincidence? Part 2. Psychological Perspectives. Building on our foundational understanding of synchronicity and coincidence from historical and philosophical viewpoints, let's now delve into the psychological perspectives that further differentiate these intriguing concepts. The human psyche plays a central role in interpreting, connecting, and attributing meaning to events that occur in our lives. This segment explores how psychological theories and practices perceive and explain synchronicity and coincidence. The psychological exploration of synchronicity cannot be discussed without returning to Carl Jung, who not only coined the term but also provided a deep psychological framework for its interpretation. Jung posited that synchronicity was evidence of the collective unconscious, a structure of the unconscious mind shared among beings of the same species. This collective unconscious houses archetypes, universal symbols, and memories that transcend individual experience. For Jung, synchronicity occurs when an event in the external world coincides meaningfully with a state of mind or an internal event. This is not due to direct causation as traditionally understood, but as an expression of the concurrent activation of archetypal symbols in the psyche. This could explain why certain events feel profoundly significant to us. They echo the deep-seated symbols within our collective unconscious. In contrast, behavioral psychologists might view coincidence as the brain's pattern-finding tendency in action. Humans are pattern-seeking creatures, a trait that has evolutionary advantages in predicting environmental dangers or opportunities. From this standpoint, when we experience coincidences, our brains are simply noticing and highlighting random patterns, assigning importance to them post hoc. This interpretation is supported by research into cognitive biases, such as the confirmation bias, where we tend to notice and remember events that confirm our pre-existing beliefs, and the availability heuristic, where more recent or emotionally striking memories are more readily recalled than others. These biases can cause us to ascribe deep significance to coincidences that are, statistically speaking, not unlikely. Depth psychology, a branch of psychology that emphasizes the complex interplay between conscious and unconscious processes, offers a more nuanced view of both synchronicity and coincidence. Practitioners in this field might argue that whether an event is perceived as a coincidence or synchronicity depends on the individual's depth of self-awareness and their connection to unconscious content. For example, an individual engaged in self-reflection or therapy might recognize a synchronistic event as an external manifestation of an inner conflict or need. This perspective not only acknowledges the subjective nature of these experiences, but also highlights the potential for personal growth and insight that synchronistic events might offer. Therapists sometimes utilize the concept of synchronicity in clinical practice. When clients bring up events they perceive as synchronistic, therapists might explore these experiences to uncover underlying feelings, desires, or conflicts. As we see, psychology provides rich insights into how we perceive and are impacted by the phenomena of synchronicity and coincidence. But there are two key factors that we have yet to go over. Part 3, the role of intuition and awareness. Understanding the interplay of intuition and awareness is crucial. These inner capabilities enable us to perceive and interpret the deeper meanings behind the events in our lives, distinguishing mere happenstance from potentially significant messages from the universe. Intuition is often described as a gut feeling or an instinctual response that arises without conscious reasoning. It's an effortless, immediate understanding or knowing that doesn't come from logical deduction, but from an innate, often non-verbal process. In the context of synchronicity, intuition can serve as an internal guide, signaling that an event resonates deeply with personal needs, questions, or the journey of the soul. Philosophers like Henri Bergson emphasized the importance of intuition as a means of accessing deeper truths about life. He suggested that intuition connects us with the fundamental nature of reality, beyond what intellect and science can grasp. Similarly, in spiritual traditions, such as those discussed in mystical texts, intuition is seen as a link to the divine or the universal consciousness, aiding us in seeing connections obscured to the rational mind. Awareness, on the other hand, involves the conscious recognition and observation of our thoughts, feelings, and surroundings. It's our ability to be present in the moment and to consciously reflect on the meanings of events and experiences. Awareness is what allows us to notice when a coincidence might be more than just that. It enables us to pause and consider the possible significance of an unusual alignment of circumstances. In psychological terms, awareness is often cultivated through practices like mindfulness or reflective meditation. These practices help sharpen our attention and increase our sensitivity to the nuances of our environment and internal landscape. By enhancing our awareness, we become more attuned to the occurrence of synchronistic events, and we are better equipped to interpret them in the context of our personal growth and life path. Consider a scenario where you're considering a major life decision, such as moving to a new city. You feel uncertain but lean towards staying put, mostly due to comfort and familiarity. One afternoon, while walking through a park, you randomly strike up a conversation with a stranger who, astonishingly, hails from the very city you're contemplating moving to. They share stories that paint a vivid picture of life there, addressing unspoken fears and exciting possibilities that resonate with you deeply. In this instance, your intuition might stir, feeling a pull towards this new place, influenced by the emotional impact of the encounter. Simultaneously, your awareness allows you to recognize the rarity and timing of this meeting, prompting you to consider it as something potentially more significant than a mere coincidence. When we develop our intuition and awareness, we often find ourselves in a feedback loop. Heightened awareness increases our sensitivity to experiences that might invoke intuitive insights, and strong intuitive feelings can, in turn, heighten our awareness of similar events in the future. This loop can lead to a more enriched life experience, filled with perceived meaning and connection. Now that we have a foundational understanding of coincidences and synchronicities, let's take a look at the key differences. Key difference 1. Meaningful connection. As we delve into the nuanced differences between synchronicity and coincidence, the concept of meaningful connection emerges as a fundamental distinction. Synchronicity doesn't just occur. It resonates on a deeper, often personal level, suggesting a significant link between the inner world of thoughts and feelings and the external world of events. Synchronicity, as Carl Jung posited, involves events that are not only simultaneous, but also meaningful. These occurrences often seem to address our current thoughts, questions, or emotional needs, as if the universe is directly communicating with us. The meaningful connection in synchronicity might manifest as a solution to a problem we've been pondering, a confirmation of our intuitions, or even a cosmic nudge towards a path we are considering. For example, let's return to the previous scenario with a book. You've been feeling stuck in your job and are silently questioning whether you should pursue your passion for art. Finding a book about turning your art into a career, just as you pass by a bookstore, might strike you as synchronistic. This event connects directly to your personal context and emotions, providing not just coincidence, but a meaningful message aligned with your innermost thoughts. In contrast, a coincidence, while often surprising, usually lacks this layer of personal significance. It is an alignment of events that is interesting or unusual, but doesn't necessarily resonate with anything specific in your life. For instance, bumping into an old friend in a different city might be astonishing, but if this encounter has no deeper impact on your decisions or feelings, it remains just a pleasant coincidence. The degree to which an event is perceived as meaningful can vary widely from person to person. What might be a profound synchronistic experience for one might seem like a trivial coincidence to another. This variability highlights the role of personal relevance in defining synchronicity. The event must touch upon something that is currently significant to the individual, be it a dream, a dilemma, or a desire, making the experience deeply personal and impactful. Historical and literary examples abound that illustrate the powerful effect of meaningful connections. Consider the story of the scientist Isaac Newton and the falling apple. Whether myth or reality, the anecdote beautifully illustrates how an everyday occurrence, the coincidental falling of an apple, can take on profound significance if it occurs in a meaningful context, such as Newton's rumination on the forces of nature. To appreciate the difference meaningful connections make, reflect on your own experiences. Consider moments when something beyond ordinary coincidence occurred, when events lined up just so, addressing something deep within you. How did these experiences make you feel? Did they influence your decisions or change your outlook? Such reflections can help us understand the profound nature of synchronicity compared to the randomness of coincidence. Key difference 2: timing and alignment. In exploring the distinctions between synchronicity and coincidence, the aspect of timing and alignment plays a crucial role. Synchronicity often involves a convergence of events that are so timely they seem orchestrated by unseen forces, profoundly affecting our life's trajectory. Synchronistic events often occur at moments when they have the maximum potential impact on our lives, offering insights, guidance, or confirmation exactly when we need it most. This precision in timing suggests that synchronicity could be more than just random chance. It might represent a guiding force in the universe, aligning events in a way that directly corresponds to our personal needs and life paths. For example, imagine you're feeling particularly lost about a life decision, and out of nowhere, you receive a message from an old mentor. This mentor not only offers advice, but also presents an opportunity that aligns perfectly with the direction you were hoping to pursue. The timing of this contact is not merely convenient, it feels almost divinely appointed. Contrast this with coincidence, where the timing, while often interesting, does not necessarily align with any deeper personal needs or contexts. A coincidence may be surprising or amusing, but it does not typically arrive at a pivotal moment or play a significant role in decision-making. For instance, meeting someone who shares your birthday is a fun coincidence, but it likely doesn't offer profound insight or change the course of your life. One famous example of synchronistic events is the multiple discoveries in science, such as the simultaneous development of calculus by Newton and Leibniz. These breakthroughs occurred independently and yet synchronously at a time when such mathematical advancements were crucial for the progress of science. In personal experiences, many report instances such as thinking about an old friend they haven't contacted in years, only to receive a call from them moments later. These instances often occur at times of emotional significance, such as during periods of loneliness or reminiscence, enhancing the feeling that the timing of the event was meant to be. The impact of synchronistic timing is often related to our emotional and psychological states. When we are open, seeking, or in need of guidance, synchronistic events seem to occur more frequently and with more precise timing. This suggests a connection between our inner state and the external world that goes beyond what can be easily explained by chance. Key difference 3: the role of context and interpretation. This key difference illustrates how the broader circumstances of our lives influence whether we perceive an event as synchronistic or merely coincidental. This part delves into how our personal, cultural, and situational contexts shape our interpretation of events, lending profound significance to some while dismissing others as random. Context refers to the circumstances and conditions that surround an event, providing a framework within which the event can be understood. In the realm of synchronicity, context is critical because it determines how meaningful an event is perceived to be. An event becomes synchronistic not just because it occurs, but because it resonates with the specific needs, questions, or themes of our current life situation. For example, if you are struggling with the decision to change careers and you come across an old journal entry where you wrote about your aspirations in this new field, on the very day you need to make your decision, this coincidence gains significant personal meaning due to the context of your current emotional and life circumstances. Conversely, a coincidence typically lacks this deep contextual relevance. It may be amusing or surprising, but it does not inherently connect with your personal narrative or current life questions. For instance, winning a minor prize in a raffle on the same day you get a job offer might be a fun coincidence, but it lacks a meaningful connection to the larger context of your life changes unless you imbue it with personal significance. The interpretation of synchronicity is also influenced by cultural and social contexts. Different cultures may have varying beliefs about the nature of fate, destiny, or the interconnectedness of events. For example, in many Eastern philosophies, there is a stronger emphasis on the interconnectedness of all things, which might lead to a greater acceptance and recognition of synchronicity. In contrast, Western skepticism often encourages viewing such events as mere coincidences. Our personal beliefs and the psychological frameworks we operate within also play crucial roles in how we interpret events. Someone who believes in a more mystical or spiritual worldview might be more inclined to see synchronicity in their lives, while a staunch skeptic might categorize the same events as coincidences. The psychological concept of apophenia, the tendency to perceive connections and meaning between unrelated things, also comes into play here. This can lead to interpretations of synchronicity in cases where others might see randomness, highlighting how personal psychological states affect our perception of events. To truly appreciate how context and interpretation play roles in distinguishing synchronicity from coincidence, consider reflecting on events in your life through different lenses. Think about a time when something unexpected happened. How did the context of your life at that moment affect your interpretation? Was it a random occurrence, or did it feel like part of a larger pattern? By understanding how context shapes our interpretations, we can gain deeper insights into our personal narratives and the significance we ascribe to the events in our lives. Key difference 4. Emotional impact. Synchronistic events often evoke profound emotional responses. They have a way of touching us at a deep level, stirring feelings of awe, wonder, or spiritual connection. When we encounter synchronicity, it can feel as though the universe is speaking directly to us, affirming our path or offering guidance in times of uncertainty. These emotional responses contribute to the sense of meaningfulness and significance that characterizes synchronistic experiences. For instance, imagine stumbling upon a letter from a deceased loved one just as you're grappling with grief and longing for their presence. This synchronistic encounter can evoke a profound sense of comfort and reassurance, fostering a deeper connection to the unseen forces at play in our lives. Coincidences typically elicit milder emotional responses, often leaning towards surprise, amusement, or curiosity. While a coincidence might make us pause and ponder the odds of such an occurrence, it generally lacks the depth of emotional resonance associated with synchronicity. We might marvel at the randomness of the universe or find humor in the serendipitous nature of the event, but it doesn't typically leave a lasting emotional imprint. For example, discovering that you share the same birthday as a stranger might prompt a chuckle or a moment of astonishment, but it's unlikely to evoke the same profound emotional response as a synchronistic event tied to a deeply personal theme or experience. The key difference lies in the emotional significance attached to these events. Synchronistic events tend to touch upon themes that are emotionally charged or deeply meaningful to us, amplifying their impact on our psyche. These events resonate with our deepest desires, fears, or spiritual aspirations, eliciting responses that reverberate throughout our being. On the other hand, coincidences, while intriguing, often lack this emotional depth. They may be interesting or surprising in the moment, but they typically don't carry the same weight or significance in our emotional landscape. The emotional impact of synchronicity and coincidence is further influenced by our personal beliefs, experiences, and psychological frameworks. Someone who is spiritually inclined or who has had profound synchronistic experiences in the past may be more attuned to the emotional resonance of these events. Conversely, a skeptic or someone who has not experienced synchronicity may dismiss such occurrences as mere chance, limiting their emotional impact. Through understanding the origins, psychological perspectives, and key distinctions, we deepen our appreciation for the mysteries and marvels of our interconnected universe. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.